Hey guys, welcome to another video. So in this video, we're going to be going through quadratic simultaneous equations. Now, before doing this topic, if you don't know how to factorize, if you don't know how to do completing the square or quadratic formula, I would say go and watch those first because you need to know how to do one of those three to be able to do this question to solve for x and y. So what I'll do just to make it easier for you, I'll put those links in the description so that you don't have to, go and search for it. Watch those videos first because you need those to be able to solve this. Okay, so for the first one, this is x squared plus y squared equals 13 and 3x plus y equals 9. Now, the way you solve quadratic simultaneous is essentially you want to make either x or y the subject, and you do that for the linear equation, so this second equation here, not the squared, because the squared is more confusing. And the reason why we do this is so that you can get all your equation in terms of x or all in terms of y, and you're going to see what I'm saying. So if we look at this one, we have, if we take this 3x plus y is equals to 9, right? And now I'm going to make y the subject. There's no point of making 3 the subject because you're going to have a fraction, and fractions is just a lot harder. So if we make y the subject, all we need to do is move this 3x to the right hand side. So then that becomes minus 3x. Okay, so that's me making y the subject. Now, what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take this y equals 9 minus 3x, and I'm going to sub it inside the y on the top on the first equation where I see y. So essentially what you're going to have is you're going to have x squared plus, now instead of y squared, I know what y is, 9 minus 3x, right? And then obviously don't forget the squared equals to 13. So all I'm doing is essentially substituting this 9 minus 3x inside the first equation where I see y. Now, if you see, I don't know if you notice, look at the equation, it's all in terms of x, right? And that's how we eliminate y, so then we can solve for x. So all I need to do now is I got x squared. I'm just going to expand the bracket. So that basically means 9 minus 3x times 9 minus 3x equals 13. And we're going to expand the bracket. So x squared stays the same. Now we're going to do 9 times 9, which is 81. And then 9 times minus 3x, which is minus 27x. And then minus 3x times 9, again, minus 27x. And then minus 3x times minus 3x, that gives 9x squared equals to 13, right? Expanding brackets, you should know by now if you're in at this stage. So if we simplify this, x squared plus 9x squared is 10x squared. And then minus 27x is minus 54x plus 81. But remember, you see that 13 on the right hand side? We're going to move it to the left hand side because I want the quadratic all in one side. So equals to 13. So minus 13 if you move 13 to the left. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have 10x squared minus 54x. And then 81 minus 13 is 68 equals to 0. Okay, so what we have now is a quadratic, and this is what I was saying earlier on. If you don't know how to factorize, use quadratic formula, completing the square, you're not going to be able to solve this. You need one of those methods to be able to solve this. Now, most of the time, actually not most of the time, some of the time you're not going to be able to factorize. So in this case, you either use quad formula or completing the square. Now, a lot of the students that I teach, they just prefer quadratic formula. They find it easier, so we'll go with that. Okay, so this 10x squared minus 54x plus 68 equals to 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to write the quadratic formula. So x equals to minus b plus and minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So that's a quadratic formula. So the way we're going to find a, b, and c essentially, so a, if you remember, that's the value before x squared. B is the value before minus x, so that's going to be minus 54, so for b. And then c is going to be the constant value 68. So that's my ABC. All I'm going to do now is put those values inside the formula. So I'm going to have x equals, now my b value is minus 54, so I'm going to put minus 54 inside minus b, so that becomes plus 54. So I have 54 plus and minus square root b squared is going to be minus 54 squared minus 4 times a times c. So a is going to be 10 and then c is going to be 68. Okay, over 2a, which is 2 times my a value, which is 10. So if we simplify this now, we have x is equals to 54 plus and minus. So minus 54 squared is 2916 minus, so I've got this written down here, so just so you know, so it makes it easier. So 4 times 10 times 68 is 2720 over 2a, which is 20, right? So now we have x is equals to 54 plus and minus square root. So if we take that away, that's going to be 611,981. So I think that's 196 over 20. So now if we got two answers, right? If you remember, we got 54 plus square root 196 over 20. You put that in your calculator and you get an answer. And then the other one is 54 minus square root 196 over 20. So for the first one, we're going to get 3.4. And then the other one is 54 minus 14, which is 40 divided by 20, which is 2. So these are going to be your 2x value answers. Now, once you find your 2x value answers, don't forget to find your y values. This is where a lot of people forget, right? And you miss marks. So if you remember our original equation that we had, which is y equals 9 minus 3x, we're going to substitute these x values inside here, right? So when x is equals to 2, we're going to put that in. So y is equals to 9 minus 3 bracket 2, because we're substituting 2. So that's basically saying 9 minus 6. So y is equals to 3, right? Now, when x equals 3.4, we're going to substitute that in. And we're going to have y equals to 9 minus 3 bracket 3.4. So it's minus 1.2. Okay, so when you write your final answer, let me just kind of use a different color. Let's use green. So your final answer, essentially, you're going to say, okay, so when x equals to 2, your corresponding y value is 3. That's one solution. The next solution is when x equals 3.4, your corresponding y value is minus 1.2. And that will be your answer for this question. Okay, so you can see it's not too difficult, right? The only thing that you're relearning here, essentially, if you know those three methods that I was saying earlier on, is essentially this bit here. This is what you're essentially learning. Once you get the quadratic equation, you're just solving it using completing the square, quad formula, or factorizing. And that's all it is, right? And these questions, they can go for 4, 5, even 6 marks as well. So, you know, you don't want to miss on those because they're quite heavy. But yeah, essentially this is how you do the question. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you a question for you to try out and then have a go at this. Right, so have a go at this question, try it out, and then play the video back and we'll go through this. Okay, so if we look at this, what we're going to do is we're going to make y the subject, right? So if I make y the subject, I move the minus 2x to the right hand side, so it becomes positive. So I have 2x minus 3, simple. Now what we're going to do, we're going to take this and substitute it in the first equation where we see y. So I'm going to have x squared plus, now I see y squared, but instead of y squared, I'm going to have 2x minus 3 whole thing squared, right, equals to 5. See, everything's in terms of x. Now we're going to expand it. So I'm going to say x squared plus, if you expand this bracket, you should have got 4x squared minus 12x plus 9 equals to 5. We're going to simplify this expression. So x squared plus 4x squared is 5x squared minus 12x. Move the 5 to the left hand side, it becomes minus 5. So 9 minus 5 is plus 4 equals to 0. Now you can use a quadratic formula, completing the square, or factorizing. So what we can do is, either way, I'm going to factorize because I can see it's factorizable. So essentially we're going to have two numbers that multiply gives me 20 because I do 5 times 4, and two numbers when I add gives me minus 12. So I know that's just going to be minus 10 and minus 2, minus 10 and minus 2, right? Once we got that, we're going to write 5x squared. The two numbers that you found, bring them on the line and add x to it. So minus 10x and then minus 2x plus 4 equals to 0. So now if we look at this, I can take 5x out. So that's going to be x minus 2. And here I can take minus 2 out. So that's going to be x minus 2 equals 0. Now, remember, you can use quadratic formula, completing the square. You don't have to use this method, all right? Whichever one is easier for you. You still get the same answer. So now if we bring this together, that's going to be 5x minus 2. And then the other one is going to be x minus 2 equals 0. So your two solutions that you should have is x is equals to 2 over 5 and x is equals to 2, yeah, when you equate it to 0. But remember, we need to find the y values. So once we've got that, our original equation that we had here, which was y equals 2x minus 3, we're going to substitute x equals 2 in there. So if we put x equals to 2, so that's going to be 2 times 2 minus 3. So that means y is equals to 4 minus 3, which is 1. Now if we put x equals 2 over 5, so that's going to be y equals to 2 times 2 over 5 minus 3, right? So that's going to be y equals to 4 over 5 minus 3. So y is equals to, that's what, 5. So that's 4 minus 5, so that's 15. So you should have got minus 11 over 5. Okay, yeah, so 5, 15, 4 minus 15, yeah, minus 11 over 5. So when you write your final answer, you should have had x is equals to 2 and y is equals to 1, one solution. And then the other one is x equals 2 over 5, and then y is equals to minus 11 over 5. That's what you should have got as your answer. Okay, so if you've got this, well done. If not, would see where you went as a mistake, where you might have made silly mistakes. It's very easy to make silly mistakes on this. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through another question, slightly harder. And yeah, you guys can see how it goes. So what's different between this question and that question, the one we just did? Can you see the difference? Well, if you look at this, if you look at the second equation, we have 3y and 2x, right? So now whether we make x or y the subject, we're going to have a fraction. Yeah, I know everyone hates fractions, but it's something that you have to do, and I'll try and show it in a way that you guys understand. So in this case, which one you make the subject doesn't matter, but I can see from the first equation, right, if we make y the subject, we're going to have to put it into this minus 3y squared, which makes it more confusing. So the better way to do this is making x a subject, right? So if I take this equation and I make x a subject, so 2x is equals to move the 3y to the right hand side, I have 4 minus 3y. Now remember, because I want x by itself, I'm going to divide everything by 2. So that's going to be 4 minus 3y over 2. So this is what I'm going to substitute in the equation 1, right? So if you look at equation 1, I have x squared. So instead of writing x squared, essentially I'm going to have 4 minus 3y over 2, and all of that is going to be squared because we're squaring the whole thing, right? Now don't worry, watch, I'll show you how this works. It's not as hard as it looks. So remember, we're taking the 4 minus 3y over 2 and subbing inside x squared on the first equation, minus, don't forget, the 3y squared equals to 13. Now, the way you square this, essentially, let me write it this way so you'll see what I mean. So all it means essentially is 4 minus 3y squared over 2 squared. That's what it means. So when you square the whole bracket, you're essentially squaring the numerator and the denominator, and you can write it like this. So that's minus 3y squared equals to 13. So 4 minus 3y squared can be written as 4 minus 3y times 4 minus 3y over 2 squared, which is 4, minus 3y squared equals 13. So now if we expand the top bracket, the two brackets, we should get what? 16 minus 24y plus 9y squared over 4 minus 3y squared equals to 13, right? Are you guys with me so far? If not, just let me know, put it down in the comments, any steps that you don't understand. So I've just expanded the top and the bottom. Now this fraction, this is where people are like, oh, this is annoying, this is getting very hard. To get rid of that fraction, all you need to do, right, and I'll show you in a different color so you guys can understand. All I'm going to do to get rid of this 4 is I'm going to times everything by 4 here. Times this by 4 so I can get rid of this. So what do I mean by this? So 16 minus 24y plus 9y squared stays the same. This 4 gets multiplied by minus 3y squared, which becomes minus 12y squared. And then this 4 gets multiplied by 13, which becomes 52. That is how you get rid of a fraction. So if I want to get rid of a 4, I cross multiply 4 by every single other term there. And that's it. Can you see? No fractions here. All we're going to do now is we're going to simplify. So 9y squared minus 12y squared is minus 3y squared minus 24y equals to, well, actually, I should say plus 16, isn't it? Plus 16 equals to 52. Now, if we simplify that, actually, it's already simplified, isn't it? Okay, all we're going to do now is move all of that to the right-hand side so we can get rid of this negative y squared. So if I move minus 3y squared to the right-hand side, it becomes positive 3y squared. If I move minus 24y to the other side, positive 24y, and then 16 to the other side, minus 16. So we have plus 52 minus 16 equals 0. So that's 3y squared plus 24y plus 12, 6, 4, 36 equals to 0. Now, what we can do, so that's your quadratic, by the way, okay? And this is how we get rid of the fraction. Now, what we can do, just to make it easier for us, we can divide everything by 3 because everything here is divisible by 3. So if I take 3 out, I'm left with y squared plus 8y plus 12 equals 0. Now, this 3 can move to the right-hand side, so I'm left with y squared plus 8y plus 12 equals to 0 divided by 3. What is 0 divided by 3? 0. So we're left with y squared plus 8y plus 12 equals to 0. Now we can factorize this, right? Can we factorize this? Yes. What is that? 4, 2. Sorry, 6, 2, isn't it? Maybe not actually, because 6, 2 is 12, but I need 8. Oh yeah, we can, yeah. So two numbers you multiply gives you 12. Two numbers when you add gives you 8, 6 and 2. So y plus 6 and then y plus 2 equals to 0. So then your solution is going to be 1 is y equals minus 6. And y equals minus 2, right? So once you got your y, you're going to find your x. So we can substitute that back into our equation where we wrote x equals 4 minus 3y over 2, right? So when y is equals to minus 6, let's substitute that in here. So 4 minus 3 times minus 6 over 2. So that gives us what? That's 18 and 14. 14 divided by 2, 7. Now if we put y equals minus 2 in here, so we'll put x equals 4 minus 3 times minus 2 over 2. So that's going to be 6, 10, 5. So that will be my y value. So for the final answer that we'll get is essentially when y is equals to, so I say y, I think is, yeah, y equals to minus 6. So when y equals minus 6, the value for x was 7. And then when y is equals to minus 2, the x value was 5. And that is your answer. If it has given any of value for you guys, a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. And yeah, let me know in the comments, guys, what you guys want to see. I think I'm going to do this kind of style, showing my face as well. I think a lot of the other students were saying that they want to see that, kind of helps them. But let me know what you think, and what kind of other ways would you like me to do things, topics or other things, and I'll be more than happy to do that. And on that note, I'll see you guys on the next one.